What is an open secret in your profession that we regular folk don't know or generally aren't allowed to be told about? As a freelance ghostwriter, most of my clients are Russian or Middle Eastern men who publish 5 to 10 ghostwritten romance or erotica books a week under female pen names. They spend $10k a month and double or triple that by flooding the market. At one point one client told me he had 6 of the top 10 Regency romance spots on the paid bestseller list. Serious question. How do they make money if they are paying you to write them? Short answer is they spend money. I'm not the only person they are paying. They have editors, cover artists, etc. They pay a ton for advertising. But that's how you make money. Self-publishing is a fool's errand if you don't have a ton to put into it. There's so much crap out there, and a lot of people just release their crap and wonder why it doesn't sell. These guys are getting great writing, with great editing, and advertising the hell out of it. Then, one of the names they publish under takes off, and that series will sell well, along with any other books published under that false name. I worked as a retailer manger in the past. A customer's attitude and approach is about 99% of the reason someone would help them solve a problem. Sale ended yesterday. Your return is past the date. You want a better price on a clearance item? Be a normal kind person and you'll usually get your way. If you start off being crappy or demanding, then sorry, I can't help you. It's store policy. 1000% this. A customer was asking me all sorts of questions on the phone the other day and I know they weren't the answers she wanted, but she laughed it off and was super nice about it. So I told her to email me directly and I'd give her an extra 5% off her next purchase for being so nice and reasonable. If you're rude to me, I will absolutely toe the company line and will not help you. Why do people come out swinging like it's gonna be a fight? Like store employees are trying to help. Whenever I talk to a store employee, especially when I have a problem or want something, I always talk to them like allies, not adversaries. It's just so weird that people talk to retail staff or customer helpline folks like the person on the phone personally made the coupon expire / lost the receipt for you / raise the price on this item to frick you over. I'm a furniture upholsterer, and the amount of times other professionals just recover the old fabric and filling drives me mental. If you're paying for reupholstery, ask for progress photos. Nobody needs all that nasty old fabric hidden underneath, and it's not fair to the client as they don't necessarily know any better, nor should they have to. My mother was a furniture upholsterer and she would unstitch and unstaple the old fabric which became the patterns and template for the new fabric. This was meticulous, so I can imagine people cut corners. We absolutely do that. You can make a pattern from the old cover as guidance, but too many times I've taken a piece apart only to find the original 1950s material and the client is shocked. BC they paid good money in the 90s to have it reupholstered. The best / worst case of this was a Macute bench I did years ago. Client explained that it was her grandma's and that she thought her mom might have recovered it a couple times. 27 layers, I kid you not. 27 layers of fabric. We saved them all, and it was an amazing walk down memory lane for the client. I think she ended up framing them all. But besides the cute story, just make sure you're getting your money's worth with your upholsterer, and don't be shy about asking for progress pics. Teacher here. I learned early on in the game that there are a lot of supplies we don't have to pay for if we just know where to look and how to ask nicely. Want to have a lesson about plants? Go to a grocery store / florist a few days ahead and ask if they can set aside their dying flowers for your class. Need cardboard? Ask a store for their old boxes. I've even heard of my colleagues just going to stores and asking for donations and explaining why and getting new stuff for free. It's amazing how much people are willing to go out of their way to help educate kids. I'm not sure if you realize how unintentionally depressing this is. Your secret boils down to if you scavenge on your own time enough, you can afford to educate kids instead of paying out of your own pocket just to do your job. I see the bright side too, that people are willing to help, but it's nuts that you have to go find that help. Yep, the education system in so many places is depressing. There are multiple places worldwide doing it so much better, and it can be done everywhere, but isn't. Instead, places like the USA drop 60% of taxpayer money into the military buying things the military keeps telling them they don't even need. I used to work in daycare. I have worked at several. I'm American. The law in Washington state was 14 toddlers to 2 staff, and most daycares try to run at the maximum amount, which provides a terribly stressful environment for children. Even if you enroll your kid in a daycare with less children to teacher ratio, the daycare is usually trying to raise it, and a couple less kids being there is temporary. State regulations can be bizarre and cause even less ratio of care. For example, every child must have their diaper changed every 2 hours or more, all day, and be documented. Multiply that by 14 kids, so changing all 14 diapers/potty training, some every 2 hours for 8-10-hour days. The 2 staff rule is really just one person watching the kids for most of the day, while the other person is changing diapers. A good environment being provided is almost impossible when one person is watching 14 toddlers. The state taxes daycares for breaking any small rule, so they struggle to make money and pay people fairly, hire more staff. The same ratio applies in Ohio. It doesn't matter if the clients are mostly well-to-do and private paid or single parents on state assistance, every place wants to get away with as many kids to as few teachers as possible. And you can bet, as soon as that toddler room drops to 7 kids towards the end of the day, one of you is either going home or going to another room to send someone be home. Breaks are always given at nap times because they can legally have all 14 toddlers in there with one teacher if the kids are on their cots. You're also supposed to do sanitizing and lesson plans at nap times too. Never mind that there's always one kid that doesn't sleep and another one who is crapping their pants or puking. Yep. So a lot of people end up working for less than minimum wage. I stayed late to clean and do lessons off the clock because I really did care. I did it for 5 years and often cried on my breaks because I felt like I couldn't do enough for the kids. So sad. At the airlines, we generally have no idea where your bag is at any given time. It follows a chain of events to get to the right place. If it ends up missing, no one is looking for your bag. Your file gets loaded in a computer, and when your bag is eventually scanned somewhere, a person is notified to grab it before it moves on to somewhere else. This also means, if you jump to an earlier flight, there is a strong chance that your bag is going to fly on the original flight. The time is usually too little to go find it, retag it and get it to a new flight. If you jump to another airline and we have already retagged it/handed it off to a different airline, it is done. We are not going to be able to retrieve it. It is flying on that flight. Just because your bag tag shows CLT on it does not mean it was accidentally sent there. We often send bags through multiple cities as it will reunite you and your bag hours faster than the next direct flight. Sometimes, we even send it on other airlines that you never even flew on. We may even send it the other way around the globe. X. Lax to DXB, Dubai. You may have flown through London on British Airways, but the fastest way for me to send your bag may be through Seoul, South Korea on Delta and Korean Air. We try our best, but it's a question of volume, staffing, time, and technology. Honestly, those 4 words "we try our best" is enough to absolve you of all sin from me. I'm too dumb to know when people are trying hard and when people are slacking off, so I just have to assume it's the former, and it's nice to know at least sometimes I'm not getting clowned on. When temperamental artists ask us to adjust the sound and we pretend to twiddle knobs. 25 years as both performer and tech. I have seen both the best and worst of both sides. The best was an internationally renowned jazz artist with an incredibly exacting tech rider. He would not enter the venue until his road manager reviewed every piece. The tech director was totally chill about it and told me he and his fans have certain expectations and our job is to meet them. When sound check started, the artist was incredibly gracious, thoughtful, respectful, and exacting. An absolute delight in every way. And we didn't stop until it was perfect. Some artists are temperamental pricks, and some engineers are condescending douchebags. I have had my fill of both. The true pros work together to create a great experience. I love it when an artist actually knows what they actually want, as in specifically what and how, or if they have zero clue, and trust me, It is the in-between that gets me, where they make a bunch of useless demands and don't help us help them. There is a local theater that brought in a very respected set designer and asked him for advice on how to fix an existing set. He said to raise it a 1 inch, which sounds insane. However, even more insane is that they actually did it. And crazier still was that it actually worked. If you demand crazy stuff but it works, then it is worth it. Insurance rep here. Your credit score matters more than people realize. It can affect your auto insurance premium by as much as $100 a month. And if you're a renter, I can pretty much ballpark your credit score by running a renter's insurance quote for you. The higher the monthly premium for your renter's insurance, the crappier your credit score. What about your zip code? How much does that affect your rates, and what's that based on? Crime rates / thefts in your area. Oh, zip code matters. Everyone that lives in a city is going to be charged more than people living out in the suburbs or rural areas. There's only one city in my state that we've dubbed a no man's land for insurance, and that's Waterbury Court. Based on the leads we've received, I estimate at least a third of that town is driving uninsured or has had a lapse of coverage in the past 6 months. Yes, I can see if you've had a lapse in coverage. So even people with good driving records and credit get charged obscene rates there, because if they are in an accident, it's highly likely that we'll end up paying out, even if they are not at fault. It is not difficult to get super realistic details in CGI. I see people look at stuff like the stitching on shirts and how there's some fuzz on a peach or something like that in animated films. It looks impressive, but those details are super easy to make. Just slap on a normal map and a particle system. Of course, some details like cobwebs are more complicated, but overall the tiny little things are just a texture or particle system. The actual hard stuff goes completely unrecognized if it's done well. Compliment the character rigging every now and then. It's much more difficult. Easy for you. It was probably hard for the researchers who came up with the algorithms and designed the software. Can confirm. I worked in a lab with late 80s / early 90s. Silicon graphics hardware and fancy software like Wavafront and custom creations built in-house for our own use. Things people got used to seeing in movies in the 2000s were impossibilities back in the early 90s, and it wasn't just hardware limitations, though that was a big part of it. Getting realism took very smart people standing on the shoulders of other very smart people through multiple generations, with a lot of dollar signs held out for new and interesting approaches. It is not difficult to get super realistic details in CGI if someone did all the hard work for you. But if all you have is colored triangles and you have to invent the rest, then it is super difficult to get realistic details. That reinforced glass and that security camera may not actually be unbreakable or being monitored or recorded, respectively. If you can see the monitor showing the camera feed, it doesn't actually mean it's being recorded too. These things can just be there to make people guess whether it actually works or not. Go ahead, roll that dice. People typically just go somewhere where there isn't a camera or glass. Instead, I rolled the dice at a gas station I worked at when I was 18. I stole a lot and let a lot of friends steal a lot of stuff. 3 months later, charged with theft under $5,000. I was shown the footage on the really crappy PC in the back room. Wait, you worked there and didn't know for sure the cameras were real or not? I know kids are dumb, but come on, man. Nursing homes have no freaking clue how to order medication for their residents. Related, everyone who works at a nursing home is overworked and underpaid, and the extreme majority are just trying to provide the best care possible. We have too much work and not enough time to do it in. Related, old people lose their inhibitions. I've been hit, kicked, punched. A guy tried to break my thumb. I had a woman try to throw a full vase at me. Another lady used to try to bite me when I provided any sort of care. One old guy used to grab our boobs, butt, and crotch. He would also make very inappropriate sexually explicit comments to the female staff. Another guy we had was in his mid-50s to recover from a nosocomial infection after orthosurgery. He would sexually harass all the women and use very vulgar terminology. It was super annoying because he didn't have dementia. He was just an asshole. Also, we complained to our very tall male administrator and he did nothing. We had a hypersexual old lady with dementia, HX of CVA, who would say the worst crap to the blackmail aides. She once told one of them, "Come here and lick my nipples." Real estate agents do not believe their job is to get you the best price. To agents, there is an unwritten understanding that you have a realistic expectation when buying a property. They can consult you, guide you, and employ some basic negotiating tactics, but they aren't interested in wheeling and dealing at the chance of a paycheck, even if they make you believe they are hustling hard to find you a diamond deal. If you start to become unrealistic, many agents will just start to frame everything as a great deal and once in a lifetime to get you to buy, to avoid having wasted their time. How do I find an agent that is good and genuinely has my interests at least somewhat at heart? Plan to buy a home in the next year or two depending on how bad the economy collapses, and the one realtor I brought it up with just for exploratory purposes, and I was clear about that, quickly turned into a gross high pressure sales environment. Really hoping to not just get super fricked like I always feel like I do buying a car I only ever see the 1000 or so they got over on me after it's all said and done. Your best bet is to speak to friends who have recently purchased a home and see if they recommend their agent. I kind of take issue with the advice being given here because the reality is that most people in the real estate industry operate heavily on word of mouth and would struggle mightily to get and maintain clients if they didn't have your best interests at heart. If an agent pressures you to buy a house that you later end up being unhappy with, or they get you a price that you later think was too high, you're not going to go back to that agent. It's true there are people in the business who don't care about ripping you off, but they are certainly not the norm, and they are largely not very successful. One good point Op does make here is that a good agent should never be 100% positive. I trusted my agent from the beginning because she is a lifelong friend of one of my best friends, but I really knew I trusted her when we went to look at a house and within minutes said don't buy this house. I can fix most people's computer issues by doing 3 things. 1. Run a free scan from Malwarebytes. 2. Open up msconfig point master of science from typing it in the start menu, then going over to all the services and startup items, and turning off so much crap that is either a virus, says unknown or a blank, for the manufacturer name, or unnecessary, you can Google, if you don't know, plus click the box that says hide Microsoft to dumb it down a bit. 3. Make them a new user account that doesn't have admin rights. They'll need to put in our admin name and password when they really want to install things. No need to always be logged in as an admin. Clickbait will kill your PC. Then doing a few reboots. I teach this to family. The startup items are in Task Manager as of Windows 8. You should really upgrade from 7 if you haven't already. I work at a fabrication shop and the number of times something isn't a spec and still gets sent out is unbelievable. That's a crappy fab shop, in my experience. Some of the pieces I make where I work have to be pretty damn perfect before they can go out to a customer. Although we are making pieces for govt and some other picky people, maybe it's different elsewhere. Government stuff is the worst, but it's good quality. I wish that the guys here cared more about the quality. We haven't had any customers complain or anything we've made break, but I'm waiting for the day so that everyone can learn a lesson.